All right, so looks like everybody's settled. Let's go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Find yourself sitting up on some props. So either use one of those blankets or your pillow. Just helps get the low back nice and comfortable, especially in the morning. And we'll take a few breaths to just roll the shoulders back and down. So here, if you're here in Elkin, North Carolina, today it's rainy and cold and kind of gross out. So just remind yourself of the comfort of the space you have around you, the maybe warmth, the protection from the outside elements. We'll continue to breathe nice and deep, nice slow inhale through the nose. And nice long exhale through the nose. Start to take that awareness a little deeper, just to the little bubble around your yoga mat, including your props in that little bubble. And let everything else that's going on in your home, in your space, just slowly fall away. Of course, you might get called back to it at some point or reminded that there's other things going on. But you always have the ability to come back to this bubble, little place of peace for your Saturday morning. Nice deep inhale, nice long exhale. And then draw that awareness in even deeper, just to your body. So maybe notice how it feels to stretch the top of the head up towards the ceiling a little bit. Root down your hips and legs towards the floor, towards your support. And we'll draw that awareness in once more to the very center of the body and try to find that space just below the rib cage, above the belly button, at the very center of the torso. And see if you can inhale there. That's the very bottom of the lungs. Full breath will let you stretch that breath all the way into the center of the body, very bottom of the lungs. Hold for just a moment. And then make that exhale even slower than the inhale. And we'll breathe a few more times here. Nice big inhale for the count of 2. And then make your exhale the count of 4, doubling its length compared to your inhale. Try that a few more times. And if it feels okay for you, you could always increase those numbers. So maybe you do an inhale for the count of 3 and an exhale for the count of 6. Whatever feels good for you. Just letting that simple task of counting the breath, lengthening your exhale, be all that your mind needs to focus on at this time. At the end of that last complete exhale, make sure you finish it all the way out. We'll just drop the chin towards the chest. Notice if those shoulders have started to round forward. See if you can pull them back and down. And then we'll inhale over to one side. Pause here. Nice big breath. And exhale over to the other side. So we're starting off with really slow movements, and we're really, as opposed to our other classes that we've done, we're not going to make them any quicker than this. Everything is going to be nice and slow, including our transitions from pose to pose. And for some of us, me included, slowing down is a challenge. But just as important as that speeding up when we do some kind of physical workout or speeding up to maybe get a task done or raise our heart rate, all of those things are important for our bodies and our minds. But so is slowing down. Good. We'll do one more in each direction, and we'll add in a little bit of an adjustment. So bring one ear towards the shoulder, and we're going to take the fingertips up over the ear. And without pulling, just let the weight of the hand stretch a little deeper. If you want more of a stretch, bring the fingertips also to the shoulder, the other fingertips to the shoulder, and just let that awareness open up the side of the neck. Good. Great stretch for the morning. Inhale all the way. Exhale, we'll release both hands down. Chin comes back to the chest and over to the other side. Start with the hand on top first, up above the ear. Again, weight of the hand just allows a little extra stretch. And then the other one can come to the shoulder. Exhale completely. Hands come down, chin comes back to the chest. You can start to blink the eyes open, already noticing some shifts and changes. And then we'll lean back to switch the cross of the legs in the opposite direction. All right, and then we'll do our side bend. So similar, nice, slow rhythm. We'll start with the right hand out to the side, left hand reaches up. Good, big inhale breath. This is the only time we'll really link breath and movement together. And then come over to the other side. Just keeping it nice and fluid. You can start to find your own rhythm with the inhale and exhale. Think about stretching a little bit more that second time around, getting a little bit more space between the rib cage and the top of the hip. Good, nice job. One more with the breath before we hold. And we'll come all the way back to center. Good. Bring the hand to the top of the shoulder so the elbow is sticking up in the air. And then we're just going to start to circle around that elbow. Good. Maybe 3 or 4 times in each direction. Try to make a bigger circle each time around, increasing that range of motion, and we'll switch it out. Good. Let all the snap, crackle, pops come out of the shoulder and the neck. And then we'll come back to center. Over to the other side. Nice big stretch on your inhale. Exhale, we'll bring the fingertips to the top of the shoulder and then just start to move that around. It doesn't need to be a certain way or feel a certain way. We're just noticing that tightness where we maybe need to let go and loosen up a little bit. All right, last one. And we'll come all the way back to center. Good, nice job. All right, we're going to start off class today with some heart openers for Valentine's Day. So shifting our Valentine's Day narrative to be about giving to others, and today we're giving to ourselves. We are making a little space and time for ourselves to relax. So the first part is just with a rolled blanket. So you can go ahead and grab that. And we're going to do 3 variations of this heart opener. So just so you're aware. So I like to open up my blanket to a long rectangle, and however you need to kind of adjust that is fine. And you're going to roll that all the way up. And then it's going to stretch. And this across the mat, this is going to be right at the center of the back. So you want it to be where the back of your bra would be, or right under the armpit, so that the arms can really go out to the side. So I'll show you what this looks like. We'll get down here. Bend the knees, roll on back, and start to wiggle yourself so that it's right there at the middle of the back, not supporting the low back. And then you can bring the head down and the arms stretch out to the side. So the idea here is that the shoulders blades can come all the way down, or the back of the shoulders can come all the way down, and the head is relaxed. If this is really intense for the back of the neck, give yourself just a little rolled blanket right for the back of the neck here. We're going to keep our knees bent. You can go side to side. If this is too intense, again, the morning things can be a little tight or uncomfortable. You can always unroll the blanket a little bit. So just make your incline a little less. All right, as you get there, find whatever movement you need to get settled. And then we're going to widen the feet slightly and let the knees just fall together. Okay. Should feel comfortable for your low back, but if it doesn't, try to find some variation with the legs that feels comfortable. And then we're going to be here for a few minutes. So take your time to just start to let go. Find ease in the breath, ease in the body. With all of these postures, the idea is to set ourselves up and then be able to kind of float away from the pose. If you're constantly called back to a discomfort in the body, that is just going to get louder and louder as we stay in the pose. So adjust and fix yourself in the beginning. Take that time to notice and then be able to really let go. Good. Slight adjustments to deepen the pose. If it feels okay for you, you can draw the chin just slightly to the chest, feeling the back of the neck stretch. You can let the thumbs roll a little closer to the floor, feeling those shoulder blades descend. And let that breath stretch all the way down into the bottom of the lungs, maybe even into the belly here as you inhale and exhale. Take about 3 more complete breaths where you are. At the end of that last exhale, we'll gently roll to one side. So just bring those feet back together. We'll roll over. Use the arm on top to slowly push yourself up, nice and gentle. And then we're going to move that blanket out of the way. I will say that, excuse me, if this was intense with the blanket, you might just want to stay with the blanket for the next 2 variations. The next one is going to be with a block. If you don't have a block, you can fold your blanket up more, or again, stick with the blanket. And the block, if you have one, is going to be nice and flat, and it's going to be in that same position right at the middle of the back, under the armpits, but not down by the low back. Stay with bent knees to start off, and then you may want your other block to be in the back for the head when you get down there. So when you roll down, you want to get it right at the bottom of the rib cage and then be able to let the shoulder blades just kind of fall to the sides. Now, the shoulder blades are not going to come down to the floor because you're lifted too high. And then grab that other block or rolled blanket, whatever else you have, and support the back of the head at any height. It can be higher, lower, whatever feels good. Good. This is going to feel more intense, but the idea is the very bottom point of the shoulder blades is kind of tipped over the front of the block or the top edge of the block and falling into that space in between the two blocks. Good. So get yourself into that position. You may need to adjust, move around, make sure there's no discomfort in the low back once again. And then this time we're going to extend the legs straight. Again, see if that's appropriate for your body. It may or may not be. No judgment either way. We're just kind of observing how the postures feel. Good. Nice job. As we settle in once again, let's work on that practice of bringing our awareness from that larger outer space around us deeper and deeper and deeper. And it may take a few breath cycles. You can start with the room around you, a little bubble of peace, as we like to call it, around your mat, and then to your physical body. And then drawing it all the way into the very center of the body where the breath takes us deeper, draws us into the posture. Make sure you're not actively holding on to any effort in the legs. Just let those feet fall open. The chin should be lengthening towards the chest so you feel length through the back of the neck. You're not straining the back of the neck to lift the chin up. A little adjustment for the head. And we're just visualizing, we're imagining those shoulder blades just dropping, releasing all the tension around those shoulders. Three more complete breaths. Moving out of this nice and slow, we'll bend the knees, place the feet on the floor. You're going to roll onto one side, but prop yourself up on the elbow, and then use that top hand as you support to lift up. Okay, check in, make sure you're feeling okay. And then we have one more heart opener. So we're going to take that block that was flat and we're going to turn it up on its second level. So it's like this, kind of in the line of the spine. And then the other one's still going to be behind the head. If you're just using a blanket, you'll take that rolled blanket and you're going to use it all the way from the tailbone up to the back of the head, just nice and long. So your spine will rest along the length of the blanket. Okay. All right. So when you come down, this is going to be the most intense variation of this. So be really gentle with yourself. Bend the knees, lower back, and let the bottom of the rib cage hit that bottom edge of the block. As you go back, your shoulder blades are going to drop to the sides, and you're going to feel a big lift here in the chest. And then just gather that other block in. You may need to um, lift into a higher level so it's comfortable for your body. Good. And then we take our arms and we're going to bring them up like we're hugging something above us. That lifts the shoulder blades up a little bit. And then we take a nice big exhale as we drop the shoulder blades out to the side. And you should feel them clear the block so they're not stuck on the block. If your arms don't want to come down to the floor, grab the things around you and lift your hands up. So you can use blankets, props, a pet, just lay your arm right on them. All right, soften the eyebrows, check in and see if you'd prefer to keep the knees bent or you can extend them out like we did a moment ago. Good. Take your time. Feel the space being created around the rib cage, down into the sides of the waist and the front of the belly. And we're letting some of that tension go. So these are great postures to practice in our technology world, kind of being hunched over, looking at our phone, sitting at a computer, driving can cause this kind of rounding position. So this reverses all of that. It also brings some of that energy we stuff in the back of the heart, whatever that might be, some kind of frustration, anger, the annoying person at the store that you bumped into, whatever it might be that you just didn't have time to deal with and you let it settle towards the back. Can bring that stuff up and allow us to release. So if anything like that comes up, that's perfectly normal. Just use that nice slow exhale to let it go. Let's see if you can gather back in that slowing down of your exhale. Even if you don't want to add the counting practice, you could just make your exhale slightly longer to truly find that ease and letting go. For the last moment here or minute here, notice if you're clenching through the back of the body. So sometimes our glutes, the backside can tighten up, the back of the legs can kind of tense up as we're opening up. See if you can really let go, sinking your hips, the back of the legs towards the floor. Drawing the chin slightly to the chest. Feel that length through the back of the neck once again. And we'll take about 4 or 5 more breaths. Last complete exhale. Walk the feet in. Okay. This is a little bit more challenging to get out of, so you do have to engage slightly through the core to come over onto the elbow. Feels a little intense at first. And then you're going to move your props out of the way, just toss them to the side and come all the way onto the back. It should feel like the dessert after your dinner. Nice treat for the body. And that's where we notice all that space we've created. So find any movement you need. You might let those legs go to the sides. You can pull the knees in towards the chest. Good. Check in on the neck. Maybe let the head fall side to side. Good. Once you kind of work out what the space you've created in the body, we'll extend the feet to the bottom of the mat again. And then reach the hands up overhead. Nice full body stretch as you inhale. And exhale, let everything just flop towards the floor. The back of the hands, the feet fall open. Letting it go. Good. One more just like that. Inhale, stretch. Point the toes, reach the hands. And then just flop and let go. All right, we're coming into our banana pose next. We stay right where we are. And we're going to start by taking our left hand around our right wrist. And then we reach those hands up overhead. All right, with the left hand around the right wrist, we're going to pull that hand towards the left top corner of your mat till you start to feel a little stretch through the side body. This may be enough. Notice if those shoulders are creeping up towards the ears. See if you can just relax them down. If you want more, you'll add the legs, walking the feet to the left bottom corner of the mat, and then take the right ankle and cross it over the left. Good. Hopefully feeling a nice, gentle stretch all the way from the right ankle and hip up through the right hand. Take a few breaths here. You're holding onto that wrist, but you're not really pulling anymore. You're just setting up for the pose and then being here. Last full breath. And then we'll release our hands, release the feet, walk everything back to center. Just pause. And we'll take the right hand around the left wrist. Start by just guiding the hands over towards the top right corner of the mat. Add the legs if you'd like. Walk the legs to the bottom right corner. Hips stay where they are. You're not letting the hips roll or lift. And then you're going to take the left ankle over the right. Good. Like a nice big crescent moon shape. Leaning to one side. Let the eyes close. Soften the breath. Last one. And we'll come back through center. All right, after all that length we've created, we're going to come into a twist next. So if you'd like, you can use your bolster, you can use a rolled blanket, whatever feels good for you. Place it to the left side of the mat. And you may need to adjust. So if you have a traditional bolster, these sometimes will stand up on their second level, which is really nice. But you can do that with your pillow too, or just have a few pillows if you need it a little higher. So we're going to extend the left leg long, the one that's next to the bolster, and pull the right knee into the chest. Good. Check in and see how that feels. Maybe just give a little circle in that hip. And then we're going to take the left hand to the outside of the knee and gently guide that knee over towards the bolster. The hips will lift until you're just landing it right there on your support. Again, if you need it to be higher, just adjust your props. Good. So you want that leg to relax. And then you're going to take your right arm up towards the ceiling. Big inhale and lift it up just like we did earlier with lifting those shoulder blades, and then slowly extend it out. Good. If it doesn't come down to the floor or it's really pulling in the chest, then bring something under the shoulder, bring something under the hand. Good. And we're going to do the same thing with the left hand. So we reach that left hand up. It's going to feel a little funny as we lift. And then we stretch that left arm out as well. Once you get those arms extended out, eyes can close, lengthen the back of the neck, and just let the body take that gentle shape in our traditional asana practice, sometimes we really wring things out and we really draw in and up on our twists to um, get that deeper stretch. Here, we're just try to be nice and passive with it. So we're not trying to force our body into any position, but just letting it take the shape and then letting go. Only if it feels okay for the head and neck and doesn't cause any discomfort, you can let even the gaze go over towards that right hand. Begin to notice tension through the eyebrows or the jaw. And it's not uncommon when we practice restorative yoga for us to find kind of variations of the pose as we stay in one position. So we might start to notice different things in the body letting go as you spend more time here. If you're having a hard time focusing or your mind keeps getting pulled away, this is a great way to keep your awareness in the body just by noticing the changes and shifts that are happening in just the few minutes we're in each pose. Okay, let's take our last 3 complete breaths here. Make that exhale slightly longer than the inhale. We'll work our way back to center. And slowly lift that leg up. You might need to use the hand to do that. And then we'll bring that right leg down. Bring your props over to the other side. And it may need the same height of your bolster or stack of blankets, maybe not. Each side's different. We'll take the right leg out long. Left leg pulls in towards the chest. Give it a little circle, find some space in that hip, check in on anything that feels a little off. And then take the right hand to the outside of the knee and gently guide it over. And again, those hips will lift up. And then we'll adjust the shoulders. So we take the left arm up first, really lift the back of the shoulder blade, and then stretch it out and over. Good. And then we'll do the same thing with the right. We lift that right arm up, feel it lift a little bit, and feel a little awkward, and then we let that arm go, stretching it out. Good. Here we'll start our breath. Notice anywhere we can deepen, maybe by letting the head go. Soften the eyes. I didn't mention it at the beginning of class, but this is a great class to have an eye bag for. And just each time you get settled into a position, you add that eye bag in, can add a nice grounding relaxation effect to each posture. Take about 3 more complete breaths here. From here, we'll slowly come back to center. Good. We'll bend those knees, place the feet on the floor, check in, and then just roll over onto one side as we slowly come up to sit. Take your time. We've been on the floor for a while. All right, we're going to come into one more side bend. This is also a variation of our banana pose. So we'll take that rolled blanket and we're going to bring that under the outside of the hip. So it's going to be right on the kind of the waist area. And if you need more, you can fold it and roll it up a little bit more. So I might do that. So of course, the higher the roll, the more support it will provide. Good. My paper flew away. All right, so from here, we'll set up a block for the head. And if you have one of these cork blocks, they're a little bit harder. So I suggest using a blanket or just something to soften it, but not required. If you're using a folded blanket, you don't have to use anything. And then the other block or prop, whatever might be there, is going to be up over the head, and that's what we're going to stretch our hand to. So we're going to start by leaning the waist onto this blanket, stretch out the bottom arm, lay the head down, knees are bent, and then we're going to take our top arm and we're going to stretch it up and over. Good, to that block. And the idea here is we're getting this side bend stretch. Okay. If you want more, you can always let the head come down to the floor. It's going to add a little bit more in the shoulder. So set yourself up, get settled, find some space here. And then if you want even more, you can extend that right leg out long on the mat so that you're getting that side stretch from fingertips to the tips of the toes. If that doesn't feel right, then just add it back in, bending the knee, placing it on top of the opposite leg. Good. We'll take a few breaths here, separating those shoulder blades. Really noticing how the side bend starts in the outer hip and then works its way out. Where before, side bend was more in the arms and then worked its way down. About 3 more breaths. Good. We'll bring that top arm all the way back down in front of the face. Bend the leg, place it on top of the bottom leg, and slowly push yourself up. Good. And then you can just roll to the opposite side. So we'll get the opposite hip down, legs stacked. If you used a block or blanket under the head, feel free to use that again. We'll take that right arm, palm facing up, lay down, and then reach and stretch that left arm up and over to the block. Set up first, and then extend that bottom leg out when you're ready. Just kidding. Top leg out when you're ready so that your fingertips to toes are in one long line. Good. And again, if that is too much for the hip or the leg, you can always bend it and place it back down. Good. Nice subtle side bend stretch. Breathing where you are. Last full breath here. Exhale all the way. Good. Start with the legs, stack them first, and then bring that hand down in front of the face, the lifted hand in front of the face, and slowly make your way up. Good. Nice job. All right. Grab your bolster or couch cushion, and we are going to come into child's pose next, probably the best restorative pose in some people's opinion. I'm going to give you some variations for this pose. So the first is just to have the bolster flat. You're going to bring it right in between the knees. So you kind of wiggle it back until it's right in between the knees, and then you lay the belly, the chest, and the head down. You might turn the head to the side. Okay. If you know the variation you like, feel free to come in at any time. I'm just giving you some options for home. One is to use a block or a folded blanket to prop up the front edge. So that's not going to bring you down as far, but it does create a nice ease for the spine. So that would look like this. Head might be a little more lifted. And then another variation is to turn your bolster like this. This was really comfortable for me when I was pregnant because I slid it up further and my belly had a space here and then my chest was still lifted. So I was more like this. So feel free to find any space that feels good for you. And the idea with child's pose is to just get the body into that shape and then completely let go. Notice which cheek is down first. Let the arms just kind of gather around the bolster, your pillow, around your props. And then let go. Soften the muscles of the face. Feel the hips settle back towards the heels a little deeper. We'll go ahead and just lift the head, turn the opposite cheek down. Of course, making any adjustments you need to truly let go into the pose. Last 3 breath cycles here. Really take your time. Last exhale, complete. Release. And then slowly place the hands down under the shoulders. We'll lift up to a tabletop position. Walk the hands forward. Just stretch one leg back, tuck the toe under, push through that heel, open up the back of the knee and the front of the ankle. And then switch it out to the other side. Good. All right, I suggest moving your bolster and block to the top of the mat. For our next pose, we're going to work on pigeon pose. And then having a blanket or some kind of prop for your hip. So I'm going to fold my blanket up a little bit more to be more like a a small pillow. I like to do it about this size. And that really gives some support for my hip, but you can choose any variation, or if you have a throw pillow, that works too. All right, we're going to put that on the left side for our left hip, and then we'll slowly slide the left leg forward. So that looks like this. We bring that left knee out in front, and then gather your prop under that left hip. And that keeps getting messed up. All right, so shove it under there, under the thigh, under the butt. And then you can either settle down. I'm kind of showing you from the back so you can see what that looks like. You're settling and sitting on that blanket, or you can start to square off the hips and just use that as a support as you come down to your bolster. So it's going to feel different than when we do our pigeon pose in our traditional asana class, because we don't want to be tensing up so much. We want to create that ease and release. Go ahead and come down when you're ready. We're going to be here for a few minutes. So again, just be honest with yourself. Can you stay here for a few minutes, or do you need some support? Another great place for a prop is under the back right knee. That is going to feel really good to support the body. Good. Continue to find whatever you need to support, and then let go. A prop under the head. Creates a nice way for the body to release. Good. Make sure that back toe is released down and isn't tucked under anymore. And then here we'll really focus on those exhales. Feel free to switch to an exhale through the mouth. It often feels really nice in our pigeon poses. We release whatever we're holding on to in that hip. If it's challenging for the head to come down to a prop, you can always bring your thumbs up to the inner eyebrows and just prop up your forehead in that way. As we continue to breathe here, see if you can send the breath down into that hip. So we worked on bringing the breath into the very center of the body, the beginning of class. Now we're taking it deeper. Inhale, like you're adding a little pillow or pocket of space in that hip. And then as you exhale, it allows the body to go just slightly deeper. Take 3 more full breaths. You're doing great. Last one. Slowly walking up. Good. You can come to sit on that left hip, bend the back knee, and just check in here. Sit all the way upright for a moment, and then we'll switch it to the other side. So you can come to tabletop, however you need to adjust to get into it. The support for your hip is going to be on the right side this time, and then your bolster, whatever you want to bring the head down to. Slide the right knee forward, right hip on that bolster. So our mermaid pose is a little bit more of a zigzag shape in the legs. I know it's hard to see with the black mat under me, but that's a great option too if it doesn't feel great to come all the way into the pigeon pose. All right. When you're ready, come on into any variation. Make sure that right hip is supported. And then come on down. Support for that back left kneecap if you need. Good. We'll roll the shoulders back and down. Take a big breath into the upper back. Some support under that left kneecap might feel great. And then we'll slowly begin to release down when you're ready. If you have a bolster, a pillow out in front of you, just really let the heart come down, the head come down. Try to call on some of that ease and softness you created in the beginning of class with some of those heart opening poses. Here, when things maybe get a little bit more uncomfortable, we want to support back out of anything that, if you're just constantly reminded of a discomfort in the body, then that's no longer a restorative practice. So find something that can bring you back into that sense of ease if you don't want to be in pigeon right now. Good. We have about 3 or 4 more full breaths. Take your time here. Feel free to sigh out, softening that tension. Last one. All right, slowly moving out of the posture. Good. We'll make our way into a tabletop position once again. And our last pose here before we come down onto our back is going to be Sphinx pose. So you can do this with props or without props. If you use a bolster, it's going to lift you up a little bit higher. So just be mindful of that. If you just want to be on your elbows, it will look more like this. So if you're on your elbows, you'll be here. Okay, just nice, gentle stretch for the back. If you're up on a bolster, you'll come from table first, set up your forearms, and then bring the hips forward. Okay, so just find whichever variation feels good for you. And then make sure when you get there, you're not hanging in the shoulders. You don't want those shoulders to come up towards the ears. You're pushing down and pulling the hips slightly forward. Good. Let the head go side to side, and it should feel like a stretch for the front of the hips. And it shouldn't cause any discomfort in the low back. If it is causing discomfort in the low back, then try coming down a little lower, maybe just letting the shoulders come slightly forward. Good. For a little adjustment to deepen the stretch in the front of the hips, tuck the toes under and pull the thighs back one at a time, and then release the top of the feet back down. Good. And again, that should make the pose feel good in the body. If it's causing tension, then back off and do a little less. Good. If you have some kind of prop that you want to bring under the forehead, that is a great variation here. So you could bring it down if it's stacked on top of the bolster. You could have it in between the forearms. And again, you're not letting the shoulders round forward. You're just letting the forehead come down to create that ease, sending that message to the body of letting go. We'll take 3 more complete breaths. Very last one. Gently push into those hands. Come all the way back into just a little child's pose to open up the low back, sway side to side. And then we'll come down onto the back. We have just one more pose, or 1.5 more poses before we come into our relaxation. A block is great for our restorative bridge pose, or you can use a folded blanket. So when you come down, if you've been following along, we have done this a few times throughout our yoga challenge, but I'll go through it anyway. So let's bend the knees, roll on back. Good. When you get down there, take a second, just make sure everything's feeling all right. You can go side to side with the legs. And then we're going to take that block, and I suggest either at the flattest level, we call that level 1, or level 2 to start. We'll lift the hips up, slide the block right under the sacrum, somewhere between the top of the pants and the tailbone, so around the butt, not up by the low back or rib cage. And then just check in and see how that feels. Good. Slide the shoulders back down and under. So just kind of give them a little scoot towards one another so the palms flip up and the hands can go out to the side. Chin will drop ever so slightly to the chest so that you feel that length through the back of the neck. And let the eyes close. This is a great posture to do towards the end of our practice. Also great for the end of the day if you're ever practice in the evening, because it brings the hips higher than the heart. And that just allows this sense of ease to wash over the body, letting go. Good. Next variation of the pose is only if it feels okay for you. And if you're in that second level of the block, if you're up a little higher, I suggest coming down to the first level, at least to see how this feels in your low back. So we'll start by taking one leg out and just let it fall open, maybe flex the foot, see which one feels best for you. Good. Maybe bring the hand to the front of the hip and just remind that front of the hip that it can open and let go, top of the thigh. And as long as that feels okay, you can bring that leg in and test out the other side. And again, Just a little love and encouragement to the front of that hip that it can open and let go of whatever it's holding on to. And if you're still feeling good there from each individual leg, then you can bring both legs out at the same time. Good. Just like our Sphinx pose that we just did, this should feel like an opening for the front of the body, not a compression for the low back. So if you're feeling it all in the back, just bend the knees and place the feet on the floor. Good. If you're still feeling good there and you want to go just a little bit further, try extending the hands up overhead, bring the back of the palms down, and just let the shoulders fall, letting the hips be at the highest point. Inhale, breathe all the way into the lower part of the belly, that area that's lifted. And then exhale, feel everything melt away from that point, letting go. Good. We'll take about 3 more complete breaths. At the end of that last complete exhale, we'll bring the hands down to the sides of the body first. Walk the feet in one at a time. Push into those feet. Lift the hips up, nice and slow, and then lower back down. Good. Check in here. Should feel really nice to release from once you bring the spine back down nice and flat. You can rock side to side, maybe curl up into a little ball. Check in. All right. We are setting up for our final relaxation shavasana, what we've been gearing up for this whole class. So, if you have a preferred way to get into shavasana, feel free to try that out. I'm going to give you a variation with blocks and the bolster that you can try, which is a really nice way for the low back to bring some ease. So we stack up, we call this our stone hedge. So I'll show you from the front. We stack up our blocks on the highest level, and then we just place the bolster over top, and then this is support for the calves. So if we're doing it on the bottom of the mat, it looks like this. I encourage you to bundle up here, put socks on if you don't have them on already, your jacket, have a blanket to cover up with. We're going to be here for a little bit longer than we normally do our relaxation for. So give yourself as much time to get everything together that you need. Good. So what this does is it brings the knees and the hips into that 90-degree angle, really comfortable for the joints. If you don't have the props to set up like this, you can just use a rolled blanket or pillows under the knees. That's a great option. Something else that feels really good is a blanket under the head with just a gentle roll for the neck. So just variations, nothing is required. Do what makes sense for you. And then we're going to finish our practice with this similar visualization that we did in the beginning of class. So we start by noticing the space we're in right now, maybe sending out a little breath of gratitude for what that space provides us. The physical structure, as well as energetically. So whether you're in just a specific room of your house, what are some other things that bring you joy about that space? And then step away from that and imagine you're just in a little bubble right around your mat. Nothing else exists. Everything else just falls away. And everything you need is right here in this small space, feeling secure and supported. And scale down even more to just your physical body. Let go of some of the weight you carry of those other things in our lives. And let your only focus be this posture, this moment, this body. And then taking ourselves even deeper, letting go of the idea of the vessel, our body that we're in, and just coming down to that center of the body, that breath, that deeper understanding of who we are. Go ahead, let all of that fall away. We'll take one more breath together. Nice slow inhale, even longer exhale through the nose. And let all effort release. Effort of the breath, effort of thinking, processing, just being here and letting go. Slowly begin to bring some movement back to the surface of the body. We'll wiggle out fingers and toes, roll out wrists and ankles. Good. Either bending the knees, placing the feet on the floor, or on the top of your props. And then we'll just roll onto one side. If you have your little tower of props, don't be afraid if it gets knocked over. Resting here for a moment, here's where we thank our mind and body for giving us the gift of a restorative practice, for letting us let go and release of some of those extra things we carry around with us, leaving them behind and gathering whatever you need, sense of peace or calm you've created to take with you. When you're ready, slowly come up to sit. Acknowledging the space around you and everything else that made it possible for you to practice today. The light in me honors the light in each and every one of you. Namaste.